Manx Radio's Update with Lewis Foster.
Fastamai, good evening. It's 5 o'clock and welcome along to Update for Wednesday the 30th of October. Time for your half-hour look at the latest news on and from the Isle of Man. Coming up, reaction to the UK budget. We hear why the steam packet says it's had to alter the winter sailing schedule to Liverpool. The Education Minister has an update on the future of the Park Road site in Douglas. And why was the contract for the Isle of Man TT races not put out to tender? All that and more, plus business, weather and sport, and what to watch out for on the roads. Your thoughts always welcome too on any of tonight's stories. Text 166 177 or email studio@manxradio.com. First of all, Christian Jones is back and he has the headlines for us. Fastamai, Christian.
Fastamai. A pilot who hid a camera in a woman's bedroom has been jailed for 20 months. 36-year-old Martin James Borner of Mona Street in Douglas was also subject to a restraining order until further notice and to a sexual risk order for 5 years. The suspension of 2 wellbeing programmes could result in increased demands for other mental health services on the island, according to the interim Health and Social Care Minister. Alfred Cannon was questioned on how much money was being saved by halting Quell and Couth until the end of the current financial year. He revealed just under £30,000 will be saved. And the first stages of putting together the Isle of Man athletics team for the 2025 Island Games takes place this evening. A meeting is being held from 7 at the Manx Harriers Clubhouse at the NSC for anyone interested in being part of the squad heading to Orkney in July. In international news, Rachel Reeves has announced a £40 billion increase in taxes in a budget that also sees an increase in borrowing and spending. National insurance contributions for employers will increase by 1.2 percentage points from April. Tory leader Rishi Sunak accused Ms Reeves of fiddling the figures and breaking promises. 72 people have died in floods in Spain. A year's worth of rain fell in 8 hours in Valencia, causing power cuts, stranded cars and collapsing bridges. And a rouse brewing ahead of England's rugby union test against New Zealand at the weekend. It's after prop Joe Marler described the ceremonial dance performed by the All Blacks before matches as ridiculous and in need of binning. Those are the Update News headlines, next at 6.
More Dixon, accounting for the numbers behind the news. Call More Dixon on 66 2020.
Go on my head. Thank you, Christian. Now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing. Staying cloudy with hill fog this evening and tonight, but largely dry with only a slight risk of a few pockets of drizzle, these mainly on the high ground. Light west or southwest winds with temperatures tonight no lower than 11 degrees. Tomorrow, the cloudy but mainly dry conditions will continue with just light or moderate southwest winds, maximum temperature 13 or 14 degrees. Similar weather for Friday and the weekend, with the settled and largely dry conditions being maintained. Over the weekend, a few breaks in the cloud are possible, we're told. Sunrise tomorrow morning at 18 minutes past 7 and sunset tomorrow afternoon at 4:44.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
SMS Trading have moved to 3 St Paul's Square, Ramsey. For flat pack to fully built, new or second-hand furniture, SMS Trading offer all-island delivery and man-in-a-van service. Call 315151 or find SMS Trading on Facebook.
See the island like you've never seen it before on an incredible chauffeur-driven trike tour. A unique way to make memories that will last a lifetime. Gift vouchers available too. See iomtriketours.com for details and booking.
A great night's sleep got even better with Zed's Bedding Store. From quality Beldorm bed linen and mattress protectors, fleece and woven throws to luxury duvets from the fine bedding company. Zed's Bedding Ramsey, next to Isle of Man Bank.
If you run a small business or just need more room in the back, Philshaw Vehicles has the perfect van or light commercial for all your needs and can sort out any finance. Based in the Tremode estate, view philshawvehicles.im or call 49 51 49.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
That's right, and the time now approaching 5:05. And unusually for updates, we're starting across the water because the UK Chancellor Rachel Reeves has delivered Labour's first budget since 2010 after the party's return to power in July's general election. Much of the measures contained within it had been leaked in recent days and weeks, but the Chancellor still managed to pull a few rabbits from the hat that caught political and analysts unawares. Simon Richardson joins me in the studio now. So Simon, what are the main points and what are the implications for the Isle of Man?
Thanks, Lewis. Well, in terms of the implications for us, the Treasury will be analysing the small print for days and possibly weeks to come. But I'll come to a few obvious matters that affect us directly in a moment. But the main headline changes unveiled related to taxes. And the rates of income tax and NI paid by employees and of VAT are to remain the same. Income tax band thresholds are to be unfrozen in 2028, preventing more people being dragged into higher bands as wages rise over time. Now, this was unexpected by many pundits, but was welcome news for many. Capital gains tax paid on profits from selling shares is to increase to a top rate of 24%. Rates on additional property sales are to stay the same. A freeze on inheritance tax thresholds, first introduced by the Tories, will be extended beyond 2028 to 2030. And also a measure which caught the eye, which wasn't tax-related as such, was the 6.7% rise in the minimum wage, taking it to £12.21 an hour. And in terms of the business taxes, firms to pay national insurance on workers' earnings above £5,000 from April. That's down from £9,100 currently, with the rate increasing from 13.8% to 15%. However, the employment allowance, which enables firms to reduce their NI liability, is to increase from £5,000 to £10,500. That's £5,000 to £10,500. Tax paid by private equity managers on shares of profits from successful deals are to rise from up to 28% to 32% from April. And the main rate of corporation tax paid by businesses on taxable profits over $250,000 are to stay at 25% until the next election. This is obviously of interest to our Treasury as well, who maybe hoped the Chancellor would raise the figure slightly.
Thank you, Simon. So how about those day-to-day things that will affect us here in the Isle of Man?
Well, in terms of measures that will have a direct impact on us all this side of the Irish Sea, air passenger duty is to rise, though not significantly for ordinary commercial short-haul flights, where it's expected to be around £2 per flight. If, however, you travel by private jet, Lewis, which I'm sure you do on a regular basis...
Oh, absolutely, yeah. You know me very well.
the duty will go up by 50% to £450. Now, it had been predicted that fuel duty would increase. Well, the good news is that it's again been frozen, so no increases to petrol or diesel duties. This, I see online, has already been welcomed by Ellen Vannin Fuels, and I'm sure by all their customers. Smokers and vapers don't fare quite so well. There's a new tax of £2.20 per 10 millilitres of vaping liquid to be introduced from October 2026. Tax on tobacco will rise by 2% above inflation and 10% above inflation for hand-rolling tobacco. The news for drinkers is mixed. Tax on non-draft alcoholic drinks is to increase by the higher RPI measure of inflation, but tax on draft drinks will be cut by 1.7%. Don't get too excited, it's about a penny a pint. There are a few other measures of interest. 11.8 billion has been allocated to compensate victims of the infected blood scandal, with 1.8 billion set aside for wrongly prosecuted post office sub-postmasters. And the government is to stop receiving surplus cash from pension schemes for mine workers. That's a look at some of the measures, and we were hoping for a response from the Treasury, which has been promised for some time this afternoon. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, not to hand yet, Lewis.
Yeah, we'll bring that to our listeners as soon as possible. Simon Richardson, thank you very much, Gurmayed. Now, the time approaching 5:10, Manx Charity Victim Support Isle of Man says a new victim charter could be developed by the end of the year. CEO Lorna Trevethan says the organisation has been working closely with the Department of Home Affairs to develop a new strategy. She told Manx Radio's Chanel Suku that victims need to be put at the heart of the judicial system, be given the correct information at every stage, and be treated with dignity and respect.
We do get feedback from victims saying that they're left sometimes without information, and that's no fault of the police. The police are exceptionally busy, and we're just wanting to work with them to ensure that actually victims are kept informed of changes or, changes of pleas, changes of court dates, and also understanding and the judicial system understanding when there's delays to cases or sentences, actually that can re-traumatise a victim and feel that they can't begin to get any closure. There is a victim to every crime. There's a victim, and that victim is considered at every stage of the process. And we're banging on an open door. The courts are the AGs are on board, the Department of Home Affairs, the police. Everybody wants to see this change come in, but we want to make sure we do it properly. We want people to be able to move forward with their lives. So we don't want people to feel their whole identity is around being a victim. We want them to accept that they have been a victim and that they can move forward with their lives and grow, develop, have the life that they want.
Can I ask then, at the moment, are victims not as informed as they'd like to be, where maybe they'd see a headline and say, oh, I didn't know my case was on? Or
yeah, it does. It can be as brutal as that. We don't see that often. We, like I said, the police, the AGs, they do a great job, and obviously we've got those relationships and actually can do that on behalf of those agencies as well, so that they aren't finding out through public means. We want people to be spoken to directly so that support and the information is given to them in the correct way and in a way that they understand.
How soon would it take to make these changes or see these changes come into place?
So in terms of victims' rights, we've obviously been having conversations with the Department of Home Affairs. We've got a great relationship with the Criminal Justice Manager. So I'm working with her to pull this kind of document together that will then need to go through the approval process. So I would hope by the end of the year we're in a position to be able to launch that and publicise it and put it into the courts, put it into the police, put it into the various agencies and obviously ourselves, so that people understand their rights.
That was Lorna Trevethan from Victim Support Isle of Man speaking with Chanel Suku there. The Steam Packet Company has had to change its winter sailing schedule to Liverpool because of unforeseen restrictions with the berthing structure at the new terminal. The Manxman is due to start sailing to the city next week. Amy Griffiths is with me now. What's the problem, Amy?
Well, the Steam Packet has just finished doing berthing trials at the new terminal with the Manxman and the Ben McCree. It says those trials identified challenges when mooring them at various tidal heights, particularly at the forward end of these vessels. One of the key selling points of the Manxman, which cost around £80 million, was that it was supposed to be able to sail to Liverpool during the winter months. It was also only a couple of weeks ago we were told the berthing trials with the Manxman had been successful.
So what is the Steam Packet doing about this?
All of the passengers who are currently booked to sail to Liverpool from early November until the end of December are in the process of being contacted. If the new time doesn't work for them, they'll be able to either reschedule or cancel and get a refund. At the moment, though, we don't have any details about what the new times of the sailings are likely to be.
I can't imagine the news has gone down very well on social media.
No, it really hasn't, and unsurprisingly, the conversation returns to the cost of the new ferry terminal at Liverpool, a project which saw costs going up and which even now aren't publicly known, but are said to be around the £80 million mark. Many are asking why this is happening when the terminal was so expensive and said to be designed specifically with the Steam Packet's 3 vessels in mind. And some took to our Facebook comments to say they were annoyed that this announcement was made before any of the scheduled changes were made available to passengers.
So what happens now?
A spokesperson from the company says it's currently working with the Department of Infrastructure to find solutions to mitigate the impact of these challenges. But for now, the timings of the Liverpool schedule have to be modified to ensure the safe and efficient delivery of its operations in Liverpool. We have approached both the Steam Packet Company and the Infrastructure Minister Tim Crookall asking for an interview, but we haven't had a response from either as yet.
Amy Griffiths, thank you. The time now, 14 minutes past 5. The site of a former school in Douglas that's been empty for more than a decade could house a new primary school. Education Minister Daphne Kane confirmed in this week's sitting of the House of Keys that the Park Road site is currently the preferred option for the replacement for Murray's Road School.
I can't say there's a definite plan because the department's doing a positioning paper and any scheme would have to go through relevant capital scheme process. I can confirm, as I said, that the department's current thinking is that this would be the optimal site for a two-form entry split-site school between Jubilee and Park Road, which would ultimately free up Murray's Road site school for other use. The department has engaged with officers from the Department of Infrastructure and Treasury and external providers in order to understand available sites and their suitability. We've considered other sites, and we are undertaking school utilisation studies within the department, while also condition surveys that the DOI is hopefully going to complete for us in the early part of next year. But this is the current thinking of the department, and we will be making that submission when we've gathered all the information. But it is the current thinking that this is the current site. We're unable to move any faster because there are other priorities and other building capital schemes, as the Honourable Member will be aware. We are moving forward as quickly as we can with the staff resources available within the department.
Education Minister Daphne Kane there. Turning to the business news now, ACU Events Limited's contract to run the Isle of Man TT races was not put out to tender, the Minister for Enterprise has said. The comments are in written response to a Tynwald question on the subject from Douglas North MHK John Wannenberg, which also asked about the insurance status for the event. Rob Pritchard reports.
Instead, it's being stated the ACUE agreement was subject of an exemption requested by DfE and concurred to by the Treasury. Tim Johnston says this was applied for on the grounds that the department is content, after adequate research, that there is currently no other Autocycle Union affiliated club that has the knowledge or expertise to run an event around the TT course. He went on to describe the economic value of the TT as materially significant and in the national interest. In his query, Mr Wannenberg also asked how insurance for racing on the Snaefell Mountain course is being guaranteed for the next 10 years, and whether, if an underwriter can't be found, the government will have to make any payments under the contract. On this matter, Mr Johnston states insurance is to be obtained by ACU under the terms of the agreement and master licence, and that, under that licence, the department can arrange its own cover if ACU's insurance rises by 25% or more in any year. Should DfE choose that option, it can be actioned for any period the department considers necessary, or can revert to the ACU obtaining insurances. If no underwriter can be found, the Minister further comments, this may constitute a default, and as such there will be no payments to be made under the agreement. When it came to the Manx Grand Prix, Mr Johnston clarified his department does not promote or organise the meeting, but that an agreement was in place for this year with the Manx Motorcycle Club for the provision of funding for the event.
Rob Pritchard, Guramiad. The latest stock market report from Ramsey Crookall now. UK and European markets closed lower as investors assessed a fresh batch of corporate earnings, regional growth data and the UK budget. The dollar edged down as stronger than expected US jobs data and a UK budget release set off choppy trading. Oil prices rebounded after data showed US crude and gasoline inventories fell unexpectedly last week, and on reports that OPEC Plus may delay a planned oil output increase. And gold prices rose as uncertainty over the US presidential election boosted safe haven demand, with traders also awaiting economic data for cues on the Federal Reserve's policy path. Markets at the close, the FTSE 100 down 0.73% to 8,159. The DAX down 1.09% to 19,266. The Dow Jones a short time ago up 0.33% to 42,372. The S&P 500 up 0.17% to 5,842. And the Nasdaq up 0.15% to 18,740. British pound sterling trading at $1.3 and 1.196 euros. Gold up 0.43% to $2,786 and a barrel of Brent up 1.59% to $72.12.
I'm running late again. Do you know where I put my car keys?
In the fridge.
Where's my phone?
Under the dog basket.
Bye.
You haven't forgotten that we're seeing Ramsey Crookall later?
Oh, no, of course not. 5 p.m, is it?
2:45.
I'll be there.
Life is busy. That's why Ramsey Crookall's team takes time to help you make a mindful investment decision, considering all the options, giving you full control of your financial future. Less stress, more assurance.
Forgot to put my shoes on.
Oh.
See how we can make your money work for you. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Let's head over to the roads then. In Douglas, the bottom of Summerhill is closed between the Promenade and Strathallan Road for gas main replacement. Victoria Road is one way between Stanley Place and Broadway in a southerly direction, that's towards Broadway, for electrical installation works. And temporary lights on Governor's Road as well, near Governor's Bridge and Blackberry Lane, 24 hours a day to replace the street lighting there. In Baldrine until Friday, temporary lights on Baldrine Hill, 24 hours a day near the junction with Clayhead Road for culvert replacement. In Foxdale, a section of the Foxdale Road is closed between the Tosselby Road and Archeligan Road for resurfacing. And in Peel, temporary lights on Douglas Road near QE2 School, 24 hours a day for water main replacement there. No problems to report over at the airport, and all fine on the sailing schedule too. Manxman sailing back from Heysham as we speak, due into Douglas at 6:25, ahead of tonight's departure back to Lancashire at 7:45.
Quayside Tyres and Service Centre with 1 year's free engine warranty from Castrol. Get more with
And you're listening to Update on Manx Radio. The time now 21 minutes past 5, and we're heading over to the courts because a pilot who hid a camera in a woman's bedroom has been jailed for 20 months. Martin James Borner of Mona Street in Douglas was sentenced at Douglas Courthouse today. Siobhan Fletcher reports.
The 36-year-old installed a camera concealed in a dog bed in the victim's home on the 17th of May 2023, which remained in place until it was found on the 9th of December. Over that time, he went in while the victim was at work to collect his recordings and also perform sex acts in the room. The camera was found when the victim noticed a blue light in her dog's bed with wires and a battery pack concealed under the cushion. She took the device to police a few days later after noticing that there were 10 videos stored on it. After further investigation, officers discovered 1,277 files linked to the device, which were mostly videos, with 39 recordings of her undressing. Douglas Courthouse was told that Borner had been identified because he could be seen in some of the recordings while he repositioned the camera and went through the victim's items. He was arrested on the 29th of April and was charged with burglary, having entered as a trespasser with the intent to install a surveillance device and installed said device. In a victim impact statement read to the court, the woman said she had been having panic attacks since discovering the camera and was scared to go outside, but at the same time did not feel safe in her own home. Sentencing Borner, Deemster Graham Cook said it was bizarre behaviour which had a devastating impact on the victim's life. He also imposed a restraining order until further notice and made Borner subject to a sexual risk order for 5 years.
Siobhan Fletcher, thank you. The time now 23 minutes past 5. Now, the capital's annual firework display will take place next Tuesday, and the Mayor of Douglas says she's really excited for it. Councillor Natalie Byron-Tier says she hopes this year's theme, music from the movies, will be enjoyed by everyone. This time, the fireworks will be set off from the beachfront following problems with tide times last year.
So we're really excited. The display's back. We're beach firing this year. I feel it may have got a little bit lost last year because the tide was out and it looked so tiny in our huge Douglas Bay. So the fact that it's going to be beach fired, hopefully that means it'll be much more up close and personal this year.
We've seen in the news recently that Port Iron commissioners aren't running their fireworks for financial reasons. Are you still sure this is the best decision to go forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's a council decision, and I think anything that brings a huge majority of the community out together is well worthwhile investing in. And of course, we do have a sponsor, our long-term sponsor, Selton Manx, as well. So that reduces the costs considerably. And I think, for me personally, it's a childhood memory. It was an exciting time of the year when everything else is a bit dull and dark and miserable. So I'm all for it.
What are the key things that people need to know about the evening?
So we'll be hosting at the Cenotaph as we normally do, centrally at the Cenotaph, but people do tend to watch everywhere. We always ask people to avoid Douglas and Onken Heads because it gets quite congested in them areas. The Loch Promenade area in front of Villa Marina will be closed off. We will have our normal Guy competition there, entries from 6:45, judging at 7. So please get yours out and get designing and get them down. It's always a difficult one to judge as Mayor, but it's also really great to see. The display will be going off at 7:30. Of course, our media partner, you guys. Manx Radio will be down covering the event. We have some fabulous music from the movies this year, so hopefully a really good soundtrack that everybody will know and enjoy. And the Mayor's Charity will be there this year as well, selling lights for raising funds for their charity causes.
Mayor of Douglas, Councillor Natalie Byron-Tier, speaking to local democracy reporter Emma Draper there. The time now 5:25, and we're joined by Manx Radio's sports editor Rob Pritchard with a look at today's sporting news. Faster my, Rob.
Faster my, Lewis. Well, first off, some breaking news from the last few minutes. Isle of Man professional boxer Matthew Rennie has been confirmed for a title fight in just over a month's time. The unbeaten Manxman will fight for the English welterweight title at Wembley Arena on Saturday, the 7th of December. Announcing the update, Rennie says this opportunity will be a dream come true and one that I'll be grabbing with both hands. Rennie remains undefeated in the pro ranks with a record of 13 wins and 1 draw at pro level so far. Elsewhere, the first stages of putting together the Isle of Man athletics team for the 2025 Island Games takes place this evening. A meeting is taking place at 7 p.m. this evening at the Manx Harriers Clubhouse at the NSC for anyone interested in being part of the squad heading to Orkney from the 12th to the 18th of July next year. Coaches and parents are also welcome to attend, with athletics officials to provide key details on numerous matters, including selection criteria, dates, travel plans and fundraising. Meanwhile, Vikings A have at least temporarily closed the gap at the top of the mixed Premier League as 3 top-flight hockey fixtures took place on Ireland last night. The Douglas side managed a comprehensive 4-0 win over Valkyries B, with Will Bridson, Kim Carney, Alex Andrew and Tom Burrows all finding the net. It sees Vikings A move level at the top on 12 points with Backers A, but behind on goal difference and having played a game more. Elsewhere, a stalemate played out as Castletown Celts and Vikings B shared the spoils in a 1-1 draw, with Hannah Leese on target for the Southerners and Alex Birch grabbing Vikings B's only goal of the contest. The other contest at King William's College saw Harlequins A grind out a narrow 1-0 win over a resilient Backers B side, with Ewan Wiley converting the decisive goal of the evening. And in martial arts, an Isle of Man Jiu-Jitsu competitor has been crowned an IBJJF European Kids Champion. Summit Grappling Academy's Hanako Henson claimed first place and the gold medal during the IBJJF tournament in Lisbon last weekend. During the same period, the Ireland Club also claimed 2 medals at the IBJJF Lisbon Open for adult competitors, with Mark Purcell scooping gold in his class and Sarah Redmond fighting well to secure silver.
Rob Pritchard, Gromayan. And that's it from Update for this evening. You can find more from all of tonight's stories at manxradio.com, where you'll also be able to listen back to this programme as a podcast shortly. Howard Kane is here with Spotlight next, then it's Greatest Hits at 6 o'clock with Chris Kinley. And Update will be back at the same time tomorrow. Have a good evening.